Hey everyone, ever feel like you're just running on that hamster wheel? Always on, always going, but never quite catching a break.
It's a common feeling these days.
Right. We're going to tackle that feeling head on today. We're diving into some surprisingly simple strategies for finding balance. In the midst of, well, everything.
Who doesn't need a little more of that?
Exactly. Our source this time is a YouTube video breaking down the book Do Breathe by Michael Townsend Williams.
A great book.
It's packed with ideas for managing stress, boosting productivity, and just living a little more mindfully. And the first tip is so simple, it's almost counterintuitive.
Oh, let me guess.
It's breathing.
Breathing.
Yeah.
Breathing.
Makes sense, though. We often forget how powerful something as basic as breathing can be.
I know, right? It seems too easy. But Do Breathe actually dives into the science behind it.
Yeah, it shows how relaxed breathing, those nice, long, deep breaths,
Hmm.
can actually trick your nervous system into a calmer state.
Okay, wait. How does that work? Like, our
Yeah.
body actually falls for it. Think of it this way. When we're stressed, we tend to take short, shallow breaths.
Yeah, for sure.
And that keeps our sympathetic nervous system, like our fight or flight response, in overdrive.
Right.
But by consciously switching to those longer, deeper breaths, we activate the parasympathetic nervous system. It's like flipping a switch in your body, signaling that things are safe, under control.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. And Do Breathe even points out that just 60 seconds of this kind of breathing can help flush out cortisol.
Cortisol, the stress hormone.
That pesky stress hormone, exactly.
So all those times I'm frantically checking my to-do list, I could actually be breathing my way to a more relaxed state.
It's a tool, that's for sure.
That's a game changer.
The book calls this technique breathing like a baby,
Breathing like a baby.
which might sound a little silly at first.
I mean, kind of, yeah.
But think about it.
Like those adorable little belly breaths.
Exactly. Babies naturally inhale and exhale through their noses with those nice long exhales, that gentle rising and falling of their bellies. It's a natural rhythm that we tend to lose as we grow up. Do Breathe reminds us to tap back into that innate wisdom.
It's less about like breathing correctly and more about relearning a natural rhythm.
Yeah, it's about being mindful of your breath, slowing things down, and accessing that calmness we all have within us. And speaking of simplicity, the book also offers some surprisingly low-tech approaches to productivity.
Which is refreshing because sometimes all the to-do lists and apps just feel so overwhelming.
I know. The core argument in Do Breathe is that the key to true productivity is actually simplifying and streamlining.
So ditching all the fancy apps.
Not necessarily, but it's about being intentional. The book suggests streamlining things like our email accounts, choosing a single format for paying bills to reduce mental clutter, and even revamping how we approach to-do lists.
Okay, I'm all ears on that one. My to-do list is basically a never-ending scroll at this point.
Instead of just jotting down quick reminders, the book encourages us to add context and clarity to our to-dos.
Oh, okay.
For example, instead of just writing taxes on your list, you might write, file taxes online today, deadline is tomorrow. It's a small tweak, but it provides all the information you need in one place, reducing the chance of procrastination or confusion.
It's like leaving little breadcrumbs for your future self.
That's a great way to think about it.
I can see how that would help keep things moving. But Do Breathe also goes deeper, right? It talks about the mindset we bring to our goals and challenges.
Absolutely. It dives into the concepts of fixed versus growth mindset, which, as you know, can profoundly impact how we approach pretty much everything in life.
Yeah, fixed mindset, growth mindset. We've talked about those before.
Someone with a fixed mindset tends to believe their abilities are set in stone. They might see failure as a reflection of their limitations.
So they give up easily.
Yeah, they might be more likely to give up when things get tough.
Whereas with a growth mindset, challenges become opportunities to learn and grow.
Exactly. It's about believing that your abilities can be developed through effort and persistence. Setbacks are viewed as part of the learning process, not as roadblocks.
So how do we cultivate that growth mindset? What does Do Breathe suggest?
One of the key takeaways is the importance of adjusting our expectations. We often set ourselves up for disappointment by aiming for unrealistic goals or timelines.
Tell me about it. I think I operate on a permanent go big or go home setting.
Do Breathe encourages us to break down those big goals into smaller, more achievable steps. Instead of focusing on writing that best-selling novel in 6 months, what if you focused on writing a chapter a week? It's about embracing the process and celebrating those small victories.
Shifting the focus from outcome to process. Interesting.
By doing that, we can build momentum and stay motivated even when things get tough. It's not about being perfect, it's about recognizing and appreciating the progress we make along the way.
So small steps, big picture. I like that. It also seems like this could be the key to tackling those anxieties that can sometimes pop up when we're trying to be more productive. What about the fear of failure?
Well, that's where Do Breathe connects these ideas to mindfulness, which it presents as a powerful tool for managing stress and connecting with the present moment.
Okay, mindfulness.
It's about paying attention to your thoughts and feelings without judgment, not getting swept away by them, but simply observing them.
So when those "what if I fail" thoughts come up, we just acknowledge them and let them pass by.
You could think of it as creating space between yourself and your thoughts. Those thoughts are not facts, they're not commands. We have the power to choose how we respond to them.
It reminds me of that Emily Dickinson quote, "Forever is composed of nows."
That's a beautiful way to put it. Mindfulness is about appreciating the now that makes up our forever, and it doesn't require hours of meditation to practice.
So how do we make mindfulness part of our daily lives? I'm always so rushed.
Do Breathe argues that mindfulness can be woven into even the most ordinary tasks. Imagine you're washing the dishes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Instead of rushing through it mindlessly, try paying attention to the sensations. The warmth of the water, the sound of the dishes clinking, the smell of the soap. It's about bringing awareness to the present moment no matter what you're doing.
Finding those moments of presence, even in the mundane.
Exactly.
It's starting to feel like all these pieces fit together, the breathing, simplifying, mindset, mindfulness, they all point towards creating a calmer, more intentional way of being.
And that brings us to the last key point emphasized in Do Breathe, which is that inseparable link between our mental and physical well-being.
Oh, right. The mind-body connection.
It's easy to let self-care slip when we're feeling overwhelmed, but the book reminds us you can't pour from an empty cup.
I know I should be taking better care of myself, but it's a struggle.
It is for a lot of us. Do Breathe highlights the importance of getting enough rest, recommending 1 hour of sleep for every 2 hours we're awake.
Wow. I'm not sure I'm hitting that ratio.
It's an ideal to work towards, but, the book even shares a surprising productivity hack practiced by none other than Winston Churchill.
Wait, Winston Churchill, what did he do?
He was a big fan of power naps.
Power naps. That's not what I was expecting.
Well, it just highlights that even the most driven and productive people need to prioritize rest and rejuvenation. It's about recognizing that we are a whole system, mind and body, and every part needs attention.
This deep dive is really making me rethink how I approach well-being. We've covered so much, the breathing, simplifying, mindset, mindfulness, self-care, and it's fascinating how interconnected it all is. It's like a holistic perspective on living a calmer, more fulfilling life.
And that's just the beginning. There's so much more to explore in Do Breathe, from the power of gratitude to the art of letting go.
Well, let's dive in.
One thing that really strikes me about Do Breathe,
What's that?
it's not just about a collection of techniques.
Okay.
It seems to advocate for a real shift in perspective.
A shift in perspective. How so?
It's about recognizing that we often have more control over our experience than we think we do. It encourages us to step back and question our automatic responses to stress or challenges.
Oh, interesting.
Instead of just letting emotions kind of dictate our actions,
Yeah.
we can pause, breathe, and consciously choose a more mindful way forward.
So it's not about eliminating stress completely,
Right.
but changing how we relate to it.
Exactly. Stress is a natural part of life. But Do Breathe reminds us that we don't have to be at its mercy. We can learn to navigate those challenging moments with more grace and resilience.
And all those techniques we've been talking about, the breathing, simplifying our lives, mindset work, mindfulness.
Yeah.
It's like they're all tools for building up that inner resilience.
You're exactly right. They all work together to create a sense of calm and clarity, even amidst the chaos. It's about cultivating that inner space where we can access our wisdom and make choices that align with our values.
And that's where real sustainable productivity comes from.
Yes. It's not about frantically trying to check a million things off a to-do list,
Right.
but approaching the things that truly matter with focus and intention. Remember how we talked about decluttering?
Mm-hmm.
Not just our physical spaces, but our mental spaces as well?
Yeah.
Well, Do Breathe takes that idea a step further.
Oh, how
It
so?
suggests we also declutter our commitments, our to-do lists,
Wow.
even our thoughts.
So being more selective about what we allow into our lives,
Well,
both physically and mentally.
you got it. It's about creating boundaries,
Okay.
saying no to the things that drain our energy,
hmm
and prioritizing the things that bring us joy and fulfillment.
It's all starting to sound very Marie Kondo-esque.
There are definitely some parallels. Surrounding ourselves with things, activities,
Mm-hmm.
and thoughts that spark joy, and letting go of the rest.
Creating a life that feels more spacious and aligned with our true selves.
And that spaciousness, that sense of ease,
Mhm.
it allows us to be more present, more engaged, and ultimately more productive in the areas that are most meaningful to us.
This is really shifting my perspective. It's like a whole new world of possibilities is opening up.
And remember, Do Breathe emphasizes that we don't have to make these drastic changes overnight.
Right.
The key is to start small,
Okay.
incorporating these practices gradually, into our daily lives.
One breath at a time.
Yeah.
One simplified task at a time. One mindful moment at a time.
Exactly. It's about creating a sustainable approach to well-being that becomes woven into the fabric of our lives.
You know, listening to you talk about it, the title Do Breathe is starting to feel like more than just a title.
What do you mean?
It's like a mantra, a reminder to come back to the present moment, to anchor ourselves in the simplicity of our breath.
I love that insight.
It's a foundation we can always return to, no matter what challenges come up.
And it really speaks to the power of simplicity.
Yeah.
Often the most profound solutions are the ones that are right in front of us.
We just have to remember to breathe and pay attention.
Wise words. And Do Breathe offers us a roadmap for doing just that. Now, the book also explores some fascinating connections between creativity and these very same principles.
Okay, I have to hear. Does Do Breathe offer any practical tips for fostering creativity?
It suggests that a lot of the same practices that help us manage stress and become more productive
Right.
can also help unlock our creative potential.
So things like simplifying our lives,
Uh-huh.
cultivating mindfulness, adopting a growth mindset.
Absolutely. Do Breathe emphasizes that a cluttered mind can stifle creativity.
Makes sense.
By decluttering our physical and mental spaces, we create room for new ideas to emerge. And when we approach challenges with a growth mindset, we're more likely to embrace experimentation and take creative risks.
Yeah, that makes sense. Fear of failure can be a real creativity killer. But how does mindfulness play a role in all of this?
Well, mindfulness is all about cultivating a state of present moment awareness, right? Do Breathe argues that this allows us to tap into our intuition and access a deeper well of creativity.
So instead of forcing creativity, we're creating the conditions for it to flow naturally.
Exactly. It's about letting go of judgment
Okay.
and allowing ourselves to be present with whatever arises, whether it's a new idea, a flash of inspiration, or even just a sense of curiosity. The book highlights that many creative breakthroughs happen when we're not actively trying to force them.
Like when you're taking a walk in nature or doing something completely unrelated to the task at hand.
That's a great example. Do Breathe encourages us to create space for these kinds of activities in our lives.
Yeah.
It's about giving our minds time to wander and allowing those unexpected connections to form.
So it's not just about being busy and productive all the time.
No.
It's about creating a rhythm in our lives
Yeah.
that allows for both focus and flow.
And recognizing that creativity isn't something that the right conditions.
That's such a hopeful message.
Yeah.
But what about those times when we feel stuck? Does Do Breathe offer any advice for getting unstuck creatively?
It suggests that we can often find inspiration by looking outside of our usual routines and habits.
Okay.
It encourages us to try new things, explore different perspectives, expose ourselves to new ideas.
So like reading a book on a topic we know nothing about or taking a class in a subject we've always been curious about.
Exactly. It's about shaking things up
Yeah.
and seeing the world with fresh eyes. The book also talks about the importance of play and experimentation. It suggests that we can often unlock creative breakthroughs by approaching things with a sense of childlike wonder.
That reminds me of something Picasso said. Every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist once we grow up.
What a perfect quote. It speaks to the heart of what Do Breathe is trying to convey about creativity.
Yeah.
It's about reclaiming that sense of playfulness and curiosity that we often lose touch with as adults.
So creating a life that allows for exploration, experimentation, and a little bit of fun. It seems like Do Breathe is really advocating for a more holistic approach to well-being, one that encompasses not just our physical and mental health,
Right.
but also our creative spirit.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that creativity is an integral part of a fulfilling life.
Mm.
And by nurturing it, we can tap into a deeper sense of joy, purpose,
Yeah.
and even connection with the world around us.
This is all incredibly inspiring. I'm already feeling more energized and excited about the possibilities. But what about those times when, even with all these tools, we still struggle to find that sense of balance and well-being?
Well, Do Breathe acknowledges that life isn't always smooth sailing. There will be challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt.
Now, what does the book suggest we do during those times?
It reminds us that self-compassion is key.
Okay.
Instead of beating ourselves up when things don't go as planned, it encourages us to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we would offer a friend.
So being gentle with ourselves when we stumble.
Exactly. And remembering that setbacks are a natural part of the journey. Do Breathe also highlights the importance of seeking support when we need it.
Okay.
Whether from friends, family, or a therapist, it reminds us that we don't have to go through challenges alone.
It's about building a support system and recognizing that asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness.
You got it. And it's about remembering that we have the power to choose how we respond to life's challenges.
Yeah.
Even in the midst of difficulty, we can always choose to turn towards practices that support our well-being.
Like taking a few deep breaths, going for a walk in nature, or simply reminding ourselves that this too shall pass.
Precisely. Do Breathe offers a gentle reminder that we have the inner resources to navigate whatever life throws our way. It's about cultivating a sense of trust in ourselves and our ability to find our way back to balance.
This has been such an insightful conversation. Do Breathe really does offer a comprehensive approach to living a more fulfilling life.
It does.
It's not just about productivity or stress management.
Right.
It's about cultivating a deeper sense of well-being that encompasses our minds, bodies, and creative spirits.
And it's about remembering that we don't have to do it all alone.
Yeah.
We have each other.
Right.
We have these practices,
Right.
and we have the power of our own breath to guide us back to a place of peace and clarity.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
So as we move toward wrapping up this deep dive into Do Breathe, what's one final thought you'd like to leave our listeners with?
It really feels like Do Breathe emphasizes that well-being it's a practice.
Yeah, it's not a destination.
Not something we achieve once and then check off the list, right?
Right.
It's an ongoing process of showing up for ourselves even when it feels challenging.
And remembering that self-care isn't about perfection.
No.
It's about progress.
It's about those small, consistent efforts that add up over time.
Right, like taking 5 minutes to just do some deep breathing.
Exactly.
Or decluttering a corner of your workspace.
Or choosing to respond to a stressful situation with a little more patience.
It's amazing how those seemingly small moments can have a ripple effect,
They really can.
creating a more grounded and fulfilling life.
So we're not talking about overhauling our entire lives overnight.
No, not at all.
It's about integrating these practices into our everyday routines.
Creating a sustainable approach to well-being.
Yeah, one that becomes woven into the fabric of our lives.
I love that analogy. It's like we're weaving a tapestry of well-being,
I like that.
thread by thread.
And we get to choose the colors, the textures, the patterns.
We're the artists of our own lives.
Do Breathe simply offers us a palette of tools and techniques to work with.
And it reminds us that we don't have to choose between, getting things done and taking care of ourselves.
Right. We can have both.
We can have both. And when we do, we unlock our true potential and create a life that's both meaningful and sustainable.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
This deep dive has been such a breath of fresh air.
I'm glad to hear that.
I feel like I have a whole new perspective on how to navigate the ups and downs of life.
And remember, the most powerful tool is always within reach.
Which is?
Your breath.
Ah, yes. So true. Well, as we wrap up, what's one key takeaway you'd like our listeners to ponder?
I think it's this. What is one small step you can take today to incorporate one of these ideas into your life.
Like maybe it's taking 5 deep breaths before you start your workday,
Or committing to a 10-minute walk during your lunch break just to clear your head.
or choosing to approach a challenge with a growth mindset
Yeah.
instead of, getting discouraged.
The point is to start small, be consistent, and trust the process.
You have the power to create a calmer, more fulfilling life, one breath at a time.
If we breathe deep, simplify, and embrace the journey.
Beautiful. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Do Breathe. Until next time, stay mindful and keep breathing.